What's up, everybody? Back for another beer review, and today is the 7th and final day of Barrel Aged Michigan Week here on the channel. So I thought for the final day I would do a comparison review of two beers from the Pigeon Hill Brewing Company, and they're out of Muskegon, Michigan. And we have their Cinna-Mom on French toast and their Cinna-Gram on French toast. So both of these beers are Imperial Stouts that are brewed with maple syrup, vanilla, and cinnamon. The difference is this one is not barrel aged and this one is barrel aged in whiskey barrels. They both come in at 11% alcohol by volume, 90 IBUs at the time of review. The base is just over 14 months old, while the barrel aged version is just over 5 months old. Now, both of these beers, like every other beer that I've reviewed this week, come courtesy of a good friend of mine and viewer of the channel, Jeff, aka No Jinx. So thank you very much, Jeff, for sponsoring this entire week. I'll post a link in the description box to the beer mail unboxing video I did of all the goodies he sent my way. But at this point, I have reviewed every single beer from that beer mail except for one, which I will be reviewing in the near future. And they've all been pretty much delicious, and it's been so much fun trying so many different barrel-aged beers from Michigan, so thank you very much, Jeff. And I thought I would save these two beers for a comparison review because now, based on the age, it seems as though this specific batch went into barrels to produce this beer, because you're talking 14 months old, went into barrels, and this is released about 9 months later. So yeah, makes sense. And I've had this beer before, so full disclosure, when it was called Your Mom on French Toast, and I believe this beer used to be called Your Grandma on French Toast. They changed it for obvious reasons. But I had this at the 2015 Detroit Fall Beer Festival, and it was awesome. It reminded me of Cinnamon Toast Crunch cereal in a good way, and it was so delicious. So I'm really happy that I'm getting a chance to try not only the beer once again, but the barrel-aged, basically a mother of this beer. So yeah, we're gonna do the dual pour here. Hopefully I don't spill these everywhere, but you know. Now these are, it says enjoy cold and often. Now I took these out of the fridge about 45 minutes ago, so you're probably in the 55-degree range. I mean, it's Imperial Stout at 11%. Oh, that's another thing I want to mention. They're both 11%. This one went barrels, this one didn't. So I don't know what's up with that. I don't know. Anyway, we're gonna do the duo pour. Hopefully I don't spill them everywhere, so see what we can do here. Okay, that's going to be done, and then I'll pour this, and that should be good. And I think we're good. I think we're pretty good. All right, so we'll put this one over here like this, and this one over here like this. So both of these pour out basically pitch black. Yeah, pitch black. Maybe some darker brown notes at the bottom of the glass, but basically pitch black. About a finger and a half of a straight-up brown-colored head. Super creamy looking, both of them actually. And yeah, they look like Imperial Stouts. Anyway, let's get a nose on this one first. Yeah, that Cinnamon Toast Crunch cereal totally in here. So first thing you can tell is there's a ton of maple syrup in this one. Oh man, as it opens up, that maple syrup is screaming off the top. Maple syrup, vanilla, and cinnamon. Yes, yes, and yes. There's some underlying like sweet or dark chocolate notes, a little bit of like roasted malt character, maybe even a little bit of coffee. But this is all about the maple syrup with like, you know, secondary notes of the vanilla and cinnamon and a little bit of that chocolate. Oh man, I could just sit here and smell this all day. This 5 out of 5 for the aroma of this beer. It just smells, it smells like Cinnamon Toast Crunch cereal in the best way possible. It smells like real maple syrup that you're putting on your pancakes. It's just, yeah, it smells awesome. So let's get the nose on the barrel aged version. You know what? It smells very similar to this one, albeit a little bit dialed back and subdued. There's a little bit of barrel there. It's a little bit of like just straight on like whiskey barrel, bourbon barrel. Very slight, not really super noticeable. I know that it's barrel aged, so it's obviously there. Do they say barrel aged on here? Age for your enjoyment. They don't. But yeah, I mean, I'm pretty sure this goes in, like I said, whiskey barrels. Maybe more vanilla in this one. Maybe it's accentuating the vanilla character because of the barrels itself. But pretty much just take every character that I said in this, dial it back by about 15%, and then maybe just the vanilla is bumped up a little bit, the only difference that I can really tell. Yeah, I want to say preference is the base beer. I think the barrel subduing this one a little bit. And again, this is 14 and like just over 14 months old, so you know, it still has cinnamon, it still has maple, it still has vanilla. So many people will be like, oh man, drink all the adjunct beers super fresh because all those characters are going to die out. Not always the case. Not always the case. So anyway, I want to get into the base version. So cheers, everybody. And thanks again, Jeff. This is really cool to do. Cheers, everyone. That's good. There is a ton of maple syrup. There is a ton of cinnamon. The vanilla is a little bit dialed back. I am picking up. Now, one thing with maple syrup, when you talk about adjuncts, about letting it sit, sometimes maple syrup can start to sour a little bit. This one has an ever so slight touch of like a tartness. It's not sour, it's tart. It has just an ever so slight tartness. Don't know if the beer is infected at all. I would assume if it was infected, after 14 months, it would be full on infected. I feel like maybe the maple syrup itself is starting to turn a little bit, ever so slightly. It's not really distracting me too much, but on the back end, there's a little bit of sourness. But right up front, dark chocolate. There's actually like sweeter dark chocolate. Then there's a little bit of dark fruit I'm picking up in the nose. A little bit like a cherry into like a raisin, almost sugar daddy thing going on too. Like lots of caramel, almost caramel and like dark fruit. It wasn't in the taste, getting it more in the, or wasn't in the aroma, getting it more in taste. As it passed through the palate though, you know, that maple omnipresent, the cinnamon's there. The cinnamon's way bigger in the taste than it was in the nose. The vanilla's a little bit dialed back. It finishes sweet with that touch of tartness. The body on this one, 11%. This is lower side of full body. So it is thin, maybe higher side of medium. It is definitely thin. The mouthfeel on this one, it's proper, smooth, soft, slightly creamy. Really nice beer. The tartness on it isn't building up on the palate, but every sip I take, I do get a little bit on the back of the palate. So this is really good. I'm not gonna rate it until I drink the barrel-aged version, just because I don't want to yet. I'm gonna rate it momentarily. So let's get into the barrel-aged version. Cheers, everybody. Thanks again, Jeff. That's a really different beer. Wow. Oh, that's really... So the preference in the aroma was this one all day over this one. In the taste, right off the first sip, I can tell you this is my jam. So the whiskey is prevalent on the palate. It wasn't in the aroma really at all. But right up front, you're hit with bourbon, a little bit of oak tannin. That vanilla is huge in this one. It's really cool to see, just like, you know, being in the barrel for however long. I don't know if it was 9 months, but considering that they canned this in November of 2018, this was canned in, I believe it was February of 2018. So you're talking 9 month difference. I don't know. They say it spends several months in the barrel, whether that's 9 months, whether that's 6 months, 3 months, whatever. I can tell you that the barrel is prevalent in here. It is the predominant note that I'm picking up on the first sip. But yeah, the barrel's there. It's not overbearing, but you can definitely tell it's whiskey. That oak tannin, the vanilla, like I said, big in this one, where this one has more vanilla and less maple syrup and cinnamon, and this one was all about maple syrup and cinnamon and less vanilla. It's really cool to see the difference. That's, I guess, the original point I was going to make about a minute ago. As it passes through the palate, though, the barrel kind of subsides. A little bit of maple syrup comes out, a little bit of cinnamon. This has like a coffee roast or a general, maybe it's a cherry note from the barrel itself. It finishes drier and less sweet than this one. I will say that is one thing that I'm getting from this one. This one's a little bit more sweet and a little bit of that kiss of tartness. This one is more on dry, more full on. I was gonna say full on dry, but it's not really full on dry. It's semi-dry, but there's also this slight like roasty, almost coffee bitterness I'm getting. The body on this one is pretty much the same as this. Lower side of full body, higher side of medium body, which is weird because I thought in the barrels it would thin it out a bit. It did not. It's pretty much the same. Soft, smooth, creamy. I will say this has slightly less carbonation than this one based on what I'm tasting, but my preference is the barrel-aged one at this point. Yeah, so rating-wise and what I ultimately think about these two, I will say this one is not as good as I remember it, but it's still a good beer. It has a ton. If you don't like maple syrup or cinnamon, you're not going to like this beer. That kiss of tartness is strange. Like I said, I feel like that maple syrup is turning, or maybe the beer in general is. 14 months old. I don't think it's infected per se. I just think maybe it's starting to turn a little bit. But that said, it's still a pretty delicious beer. So rating on the Cinna-Mom on French Toast, I'm going to give this a I'm gonna give this a lower 4.25 out of 5, higher 4. I'm gonna go straight 4.1, let's say. 4.1 on this one. I feel this would be to the 4.25 level if that tartness wasn't there. I think I originally gave this a 4.5 out of 5 when I had it at the Detroit Fall Beer Festival. Again, I had that beer 3.5 years ago. So since then, there's so many crazy beers that have come out that have maple syrup and cinnamon. It was kind of almost like a culture shock in terms of craft beer when I had this, because there weren't a lot of places doing crazy pastry stouts with a bunch of different adjuncts, so it was new to me and it was delicious. This one doesn't have as much as the Cinnamon Toast Crunch vibe that I got originally, but it's still pretty damn delicious. At the end of the day, though, that tartness knocks it down a little bit, and I just don't think it has the oomph that I remember it having. But 4.1 out of 5 is still a damn good rating. The barrel-aged version, on the other hand, is much better, in my opinion, and I would give that a low 4.5 out of 5. I would go like we'll say 4.35 for the barrel-aged, 4.1 for the regular. So 4.35 because it is really damn tasty. That barrel is there, and you still get all the notes of the underlying base character. And the great thing about it is that no character is overwhelming. No character is just like the predominant note and just killing you. It's basically cohesive and everything blends together. Very good beer. Now, as far as the 11% on these, no, I can't tell you either of these beers are over 9%. That's how well they hide the alcohol. I'm getting a little bit of warming in the chest, but they are 11%. So it's like, you're going to get something. But as far as on the palate, no, I can't tell these are over 9%. Without question, these drink extremely well. So the last thing to do is a little bit of a coffee. That's about it. So we're going to pour the cinnamon one into, or the cinnamon, they're both cinnamon. Jesus, I'm a mess. We're going to pour the base into the barrel because it makes a difference, even though it doesn't. All right, let's get a swirl here and see what we got going on. Let me cleanse the palate, because the cuvee, I can gotta make sure your palate is cleansed. All right, so yeah, it's actually taking on more characters in the aroma than the barrel did. Slight barrel, but everything's a little bit subdued. Let's get a taste. Cheers. It's weird because you still get a little bit of that tartness from this beer, but the barrel's there. This is like kind of just exactly what you would think it would be mixing the two. I get the barrel. It's a little bit of tartness. Everything, though, is kind of even. The maple's not too much. The cinnamon's not too much. The vanilla's not too much. It's all kind of there with a slight kiss of tartness, but barrel-aged characteristics. I would give the cuvee like a straight 4.25 out of 5. It's better than this one, not as good as this one. So that was Cinna-Mom on French Toast and Cinna-Gram on French Toast. I'll give the base a 4.1 out of 5. I will give the barrel-aged version a 4.35 out of 5. And yeah, this was a lot of fun. So I cannot stress how thankful I am that Jeff hooked me up with all these beers, but this has been a great time. Drinking these two side by side, you kind of see the difference between the two, obviously. And I didn't know if I was going to like the barrel-aged version more than the base. Turns out that I do. I will say, if you have any cans of this, the base Cinna-Mom on French Toast from 2018, drink them. That tartness, I feel like the maple syrup's turning or something's going on there. Maybe it's on purpose. I have no idea, but the tartness, I feel, is going to get bigger at some point. I have no idea, but it just feels like it's turning for the worse. But anyway, I appreciate everybody stopping by this week for all the barrel-aged Michigan goodness. It was a lot of fun. Probably do a theme week, probably by the summertime. I'm trying to do them like once every quarter or so. I was doing them like once every month back last year in the fall and in the summer, so I'm trying to settle down with that. I do like theme weeks though, especially when it's something like this. I'm drinking a lot of different beers from different breweries and whatnot, but yeah, it was very enjoyable. And once again, one last time, I will thank Jeff, because without him, this wouldn't have been possible, and it was a lot of fun. So thanks to everybody for stopping by, especially Jeff for hooking me up with all this stuff. I hope you enjoyed this week. Tomorrow, we're going to be back with normal New England style IPAs and fruited sours and pastry stouts and blah, blah, blah. I'm going to work in some other stuff, hopefully. Anyway, appreciate everybody stopping by. To the next one, cheers.